Now, that is the TSM that we expected to see. A little bit better on that second map than we got on that first map after Renegades kind of surprised us all with the big first map win. And like we said, maybe to a certain extent, TSM just needed to, I don't know, get acclimated. They dipped their feet in at first, but then they just decided to go for a cannonball on that second map, and they tie things up at 1 apiece. This is the First Strike Closed Qualifiers presented by Nerd Street Gamers, and I'm your host, Bach. Shift, Avril, TSM looks way different on that second map than that first map. What do you think the reason is? I mean, they're not a bad Ascent team, but they have in the past had these like weird results in some of their other maps. So I don't know, maybe something went wrong there. I'm just at a loss for words.
It very well could be the case, but there are two things to point out. Number one, Hazed. He just had incredible moments throughout that map. But the other side of it, like we had framed up, just to kind of paint the picture between map 1 and map 2. 0 kills from the operator of Wardell in map number 1. 11 kills for Wardell at the operator map number 2. Is that the difference? Very well could be the case, as he's able to, of course, with that, improve his overall kill-death ratio at a significant margin. He goes 8-14 in the first, and then this time around, he goes 17-7. So there are definitely some clear-cut differences as far as the first map to the second of this matchup specifically. So take from that, I think, what you will.
I think you look at the TSM strength of Haven is very clear, especially getting the starting side of attack. I think that's the side that we've basically decided now that we're looking across both teams. Both teams are going to favor the attacking side. Looking towards compositions as well. I'm not going to read too deep into compositions, but I do think looking over towards Split, I mean, Hazed on the Viper. The Viper's still experimental. I think a lot of teams are experimenting with the Viper. It has a bit of a place of Split, but it's not like a lock in yet. It's not like the guarantee pick that every team is going to go for, and there's a few kinks there that need to be ironed out. And Hayes moving over towards the Cypher again for Haven. I mean, you see the difference here. 21 kills being dropped by Hayes. There was the ace that we saw in the middle of the round there. Another 4K following that not too long afterwards as well. So Hayes definitely stepped up big time. You mentioned Wardell already, Shift. So I do definitely agree with that one. It's a much better sniping map for Wardell on Haven. I think that's what leads to a better performance overall.
And we can pull up the maps here in the corner as well so you guys can see what maps it is that we've already played out and what maps we'll be going to here in just a second. So we already played out Split. That was map number 1. Haven was map number 2. Ascent is now a map for TSM, in my opinion. Renegades does win the coin flip, so they get their choice of side selection. But we've seen TSM play Ascent. In fact, they were one of the first teams to run a stageless composition on the map as they kind of see themselves as innovators, even if they don't necessarily see themselves as innovators. I do. They're one of those teams who's constantly like changing up their agent compositions and finding new ways to play maps and setting standards for other teams that have since been copied across even into other regions, not so much Europe, but some of the fringe regions like Latin America and even in the Oceanic region as well. So if I'm Renegades, I'm coming now into a map that TSM does feel historically comfortable on. Shift, if that's the case, what does Renegades do? Is there something that we should expect to see from Renegades to potentially give themselves a leg up?
They're going to play the Reyna instead of the Breach for Renegades. On the other side, TSM, who have largely trusted the Cypher, when they played Built by Gamers, they actually pulled out the Killjoy. So there could be some differences there, but I think overall, when you're looking at the difference of a Reyna versus a Breach specifically, you have to get good participation in the kill feed out of your Reyna if you want to have a chance to beat TSM here, because the utility is guaranteed, essentially, when you're playing Breach. And the fact that you get a Rolling Thunder with that as your ultimate, so much utility for the overall squad. The Reyna only brings value if the Reyna is finding kills. So that's the big kind of key difference here. So you're looking at a player like Winsome. He's going to have a good map here, you feel like, once again, for the Reyna, if they want to have a chance to take down TSM, I think, here in 3.
Avril, you agree?
Yeah, I'm looking at their past matches as well. I mean, you look at the TSM versus Renegades map 3 on Ascent. It ends up being a 6-13 loss to Renegades. Winsome only goes 5-17 as well, so not the ideal Reyna performance on his end. So he'll need to improve that if he wants to come into this Ascent hot today.
Well, we finally made it. A third map that we honestly didn't think we were going to get. It would have seemed as though on paper TSM had everything they needed to beat out Renegades in a 2-0 fashion, but Renegades fought on that first map, and then TSM fired back on map number 2. We are jumping into Ascent to see who's going to be moving on in the tournament as the number 1 seed out of their group. Shift, Avril, it's all yours.
Well, it's TSM on the defense first, and again, if you want the statistics there defensively, that is the better side for TSM. they've got themselves at 65% win rate. So need to get things going here on a strong foot once more for TSM if you want to have a chance to really steal the momentum potentially completely away from Renegades. Lear's going to be tossed out very early here as RNG are on their way in, but Sabrosa is going to find first blood. Combining with that was Hayes, who's playing close by still in that Killjoy. Nice long-range headshot from Sabrosa, and the numbers are great for TSM as Renegades are forced out.
There's going to be a lurk from Winsome, though, to see if he can find any players creeping up over towards Tree. There's still plenty of TSM around currently. It's mid-control that Renegades will be going towards when some tries to turn away from the flash, but it's going to get taken down by Hayes. And now the difficult road ahead, Renegades 2 versus 5. Unlikely to win this pistol now, and that's not going to be the start that Renegades are looking for.
Shot here from Bergie, but can't convert. CP2 mid-map will take one out unexpectedly. Opportunity for more. Double peek coming through for TSM. Another nice headshot for CP2, but no health to really convert on it. So with that, TSM, as expected with the early numbers, will take the pistol and get themselves going on a very strong foot here for their defensive half.
And what I'm really interested in seeing as well is, you know, so far, the 2 maps that we have played in the series have been reasonably one-sided, 13-6 either way, with massive strings of rounds being taken in that first half, especially 9-3 starts for either team. And a lot of looking towards Ascent. I mean, this ended up being that 13-6 the last time they met, but also the last time they met, the first 2 maps of Haven and Split were a lot closer.
Yeah.
So it does become a little bit more difficult to read who has the advantage. It will be map dependent, possibly. Is kind of why TSM looks so good on Haven, because no, it's a good map for them. Let's take a look at what the aggression comes through for TSM will be, though. Sabrosa right onto Bergie.
And Sabrosa's feeling really confident. You can just tell by this challenge. He's got help with him. Drone's right nearby. Another ADS burst headshot into CP2 for his second kill. And now moving forward, this is actually a bit risky. Sabrosa will find his 3rd kill, but as Randy's able to double up, there's actually an opportunity here if Renegades could open up some space mid-map to actually take some of these weapons away and maybe have a chance at this 2v3.
I think Sabrosa overcommitted there. That's the problem with that kind of play is just, yes, you got to get the kills, but if you drop the gun in a really hard to defend spot, that's going to give the possibility for Renegades to maybe clutch through on this eco. They'll find the Bulldog. It's on the floor. Retro's going towards it. It's a low number counts for either side, which means, I mean, depending on where TSM want to make the defaults happen now with time starting to run low, Renegades can definitely get some isolation kills. You have Hayes by himself over towards B. The good news for Hayes is there's plenty of util still around. Yeah. TSM have the rest of the members over towards A, so there's a 2v1. Hayes will have the util advantage.
Not a lot of time here, so Renegades are going to have to commit to this. Randy looking for maybe his 3rd kill with the Sheriff, as he will be the first one in, maybe if only just to bait for Retro. Turret will call up the action. TSM will be quick to try to rotate away from A. Nanostorms find so much damage through this back hall, and as Hayes finds the first, he'll get the read on the second and take that one down, no problem. TSM, as expected, take the 2nd round.
Yeah, it was a tough round, though. I mean, to be fair, TSM gave Renegades a lot of chances there. The utility of Hayes is looking too good. The turret will spot out the early rotation. He knows the last 2 players will be there. The rest of TSM will be on their way shortly. And Hayes can just play that one slowly, confidently, and calmly. Gets that first kill. Knows that time is running super low. Doesn't have to overcommit. Wait for the plant to come on through. Or at least wait for Retro to maybe overcommit himself and then clean things up. Now we head into round number 3. Renegades haven't won the pistol so far on this map. They won both the pistols on Haven. They still lost Haven for what it's worth. Now Renegades on their first buy round. This is the all-important one.
Heavy stack. All 5 members just trying to make their way over through B main. Winsome holding a Lear. Is this going to be the execute call? As you see the dark cover come through. That's not just over towards the defensive spot, it's also to mid-market. Lear and Paranoia going to be called in, but Hayes stays alive only for a time. He eventually gets spammed out. Little bounce pass off the shot guard actually connects for the majority of Sabrosa's HP. And as Wardell doesn't feel confident enough to push through this dark cover, that's going to lead to Renegades on the site and with the spike plan early.
Yeah, and they do have a member offside as well. Really important to have a Sova player. CP2 still holding in B main. Sabrosa might want to clear that one out. Spamming through. He will go for this challenge. Isn't looking the right direction. Just hit 66 HP. His CP2 will give it up, but that's fine. Still can use a lot of utility there. Still numbers alive for Renegades, and that's the important thing.
and you either have to commit to try to make this play on the kill over to CP2, or you have to give it up and just full flood over. They're going to be able to do both. Actually, this is incredible right now for TSM as they get spam shots through the walls onto Winsome. Bergie now left alone with Randy. Now it's just Randy. He's able to find the first. The player on the spike going for the spam shots, connects for a little bit, but good help coming through as Sabrosa cleans things up, and TSM pull away the round, and with that, these last 3 members can actually upgrade from Bulldogs into full ARs.
And what a retake from TSM as well. They only lose 1 there versus a full 5 alive on Renegades with guns as well, with an actual post plant. CP2 offside as you'd expect, and like you said there, TSM, they get to have the cake and eat it too. They get CP2 down over towards B main. They start opening things on site as well, and then they just go in. The dash from Wardell, perfect, as it just makes things so difficult for Renegades to respond to. They get the double peek and they start defusing, and Renegades can do nothing about it as they go down 0-3. That is not a good start for Renegades at all.
Wardell is going to find first blood and a second. The Cloudburst is going to allow him to stay alive and get away? Oh no, this has been an absolutely atrocious start for Renegades. Granted, again, you're just on pistol upgrades this time through, but the fact that you don't even get a chance at any of those initial fights is not great. You're hoping to punish with maybe a kill or 2, or maybe you can steal away a weapon or 2, but now it's going to be down to Cutler. He'll find one through the door, drone another, and Renegades, their last hopes will be on Retro, who's going to stick for a spike plant for the money.
Spike planted.
Drone to work towards the Rolling Thunder. And TSM 4-0 to start things out. We've talked plenty about the fact that the first half has really snowballed hard for either team in terms of round score. We've had 9s and 3s back-to-back on both the first maps. And TSM are on their way for another dominant start on Ascent after a dominant start on Haven. So Renegades, when did the bounce back happen? When some are still 2 away from the Empress for the time being. CP2 and Randy do have their ults available, but it's the guns, it's the money. The money's a big problem now for Renegades, and they need to start winning rounds.
Need to start winning rounds, and winning them right now would be a great place to start. Sabrosa, corner, being held, not going to find the angle. Wardell is good for 1. Paranoia comes through, but the spam shots from CP2 just a touch better. So an even trade. Actually, pardon me, that's a 2-for-1 trade, as Renegades will have the numbers, but you still have Hazed on site with some utility to play with. Nanostorm will be popped. He's going to have some help here from Drone as he'll get his flashpoints into the mix. And Renegades, this is not a place you want to be stuck in for long. They're going to eventually commit on. Hayes trying to stay alive. Going to get maybe an opportunity for a read, but the timing as Randy Savage came from behind was not incredible. The retake is still going to be pretty close by, but in a 2v4 situation, it really comes down to, can you isolate any kills before you actually commit if you're going to go? And that might be an isolated kill right there, and it is. Drone able to find CP2, now a 2v3.
The last 3 are on site as well. They're taking care of the threat outside of the site. Not what in market as you'd expect. Here we go, Rolling Thunder. That's what Drone has been working on since the previous round. Cutting it down early. Drone has to do it, or gets to. 1 more still in there. The flash doesn't come in. And Bergie, the Thug Waffle himself, will get the cleanup here, and Renegades finally get there first.
If Drone can just get that flash out half a second earlier, he's got a chance at that. But the problem is the fact that he has to snap around for the 2 kills that were on the site. And beyond that, just really tough luck that his teammate fell while players were stunned up by the Rolling Thunder. If that's a 2v3 with a Rolling Thunder that looks much more plausible, but the 1v3 would have been pretty hard-pressed and just barely not able to finesse long enough. So Renegades will get on the board. With that, they'll be able to, again, purchase up into the next round, but the economy is still very healthy for TSM, and with that, it will include an operator for Wardell here in round number 6.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Hayes did go down without a trade either. They couldn't quite help them. 2 players both stuck over towards the deep in his spawn. And Hayes got surrounded on B. That's all last round, though. TSM will have operator in the hands of Wardell. This is the moment that TSM have been waiting for. So as soon as Renegades get a little bit of momentum, TSM will look to shut that one down.
And this has been one of the first times that Renegades has even seen the middle of the map. And we talked about when they were playing against Slimy Boogerman yesterday, how often Renegades love to push forward in the middle of the map just to gain some space. They have not been able to do that whatsoever yet versus TSM, and Sabrosa is going to make sure that they continue to meet some resistance. He's going to have some help as Hayes is over towards his right. CP2 with a ambitious shock dart will not find much of a connection there, and with that, the doors will be shut on the playthrough mid, and Wardell proverbially will shut the doors on the playthrough B main as he gets the operator to speak for first blood.
It's actually a lot more open than maybe TSM give credit for right now. Sabrosa still has a timing, might want to swing for this one, indeed will. Gets one onto Retro. Other two players have already made it through, and Berger responds in kind. It's Omen on Omen here. Renegade still 3 alive. This Fury can be used. Hayes once more, unfortunately just can't get the trade, but Wardell has turned online. He's backside. Operator shot, he connects for a third. Can he get four, but just barely misses. Classic isn't going to be able to get a kill, and there it is. Even with Wardell done, TSM still hold on.
It can't happen. You cannot allow Wardell to find 2 and then delay time on the third for the retake, which was, again, a little bit slow coming over from it defensively for TSM, but the fact that Wardell gets 2 on top of the site is absolutely incredible for TSM, and the worst news for Renegades, who still had a chance at that round. But now Wardell's 10-2, Sabrosa 8-3, Drone is 7-3. We've talked largely about each of those 3 players in the previous 2 maps. Now that collectively all of them are doing this as a trio, it's not great news here for Renegades, who once again will be on what is essentially Nico with just 1 Phantom to play with.
And typically the opening few rounds have been a bit closer. Wardell, okay, sometimes he does miss apparently. TSM though, still have a major weapons advantage here. There it is, that's Wardell finally connecting, and TSM will get their one nice and early. Renegades, by the way, Spike is still very uncommitted. They're getting quite aggressive. They'll need to maybe get a little bit of cleanup, get a couple of kills. Retro has popped the Blaze Storm, then they can go back and retrieve the Spike.
Well, take it over the garden, but as Randy tries to play for a knife break of the wall, Drone will just instantly take down him plus his teammate, and then the third back over towards A main. Winsome nowhere for him to go but down. Not sure if he thought that the knife was going to make more of a silent approach towards that door or not, but Drone was not baffled by it, and as he cleans up 3, TSM is now on 6.
We don't really expect too much from Renegades on that previous round. The one hero rifle from Winsome. It would have needed to have been a Empress carry. He'll carry the Empress over to this round instead. So 6-1. TSM are only 1 away from securing this half of the 7. And Renegades, I mean, the chances of really doing some major damage to the round score for this round is slowly slipping away here. They can hope for the 6-6, but it will require Renegades to win 5 in a row, and there's just no momentum for Renegades at all.
And we talked about it in the pre-match. You need more participation from your Reyna. We'll get into that here in a moment as we've got Hunter's Furies that are coming out. Wardell will trade on the opening first blood. Retro will actually find a second, though, so now the operator is on the floor. And how about that shot from Retro? He'll find himself a third. Now understanding that the Omen's going to be playing over towards Tree, he's going to take the challenge. Nearly catches Sabrosa out in the reload, but Sabrosa's still alive. We'll find 1, and what is that shot from Sabrosa? Now a 1v2. 43 HP, definitely doable, but not nearly as healthy as he would hope. He tries to bait the teleport, thinking that, hey, I'm in my dark cover. But little do Renegades know that he is not, and he's trying to make a play on the backside of the Spike. 1 member down low in hell. He'll catch the information, but a touch too late as Bergie finds the kill.
The hope was there for TSM, but it ends up being Sabrosa, 43 HP versus a Crossfire as well. Assumes there's going to be in 1 hell. Certainly was. Needs to try and get that isolation kill, but even then, I think after that, you'd have to still win a 1v1 while trying to defuse. Cards are stacked against TSM for the final moments of that round, but for Renegades, sigh of relief. It's a brief one as well because 4 more rounds left to go. And I think for Renegades to stay competitive on this map, I mean, they really have to try and aim for the 5-7 at minimum. I think 6-6 would be a little bit too optimistic. 4-8 would be just barely okay, but 4-8 would not be comfortable at all.
Now as we get Renegades getting aggressive, this is where you need to get participation from your duelist. Winsome will be hit by the alarm bot, deleted by Sabrosa as he finds himself a second, but Retro, who's gotten under the site, is actually looking to clear up a little bit of space. Neural Theft is going to come through. This is a lot of information, but Retro's not going to reveal his position as of yet, and Hayes is able to snap to him. So now a 4v2. TSM with the numbers, even though Renegades will get the spike planted. And now it's down just to 1 Randy for the 1v4.
And the dominoes are falling quickly here. Randy, the last domino. will be toppled in just a second. Hazed even with the classic right click there. Another 3k. The defuse will be given over towards Cutler to work towards that Hunter's Fury, now 1 away, and well, TSM 1 map away from securing first place in the group, and a 7-2 opening on Ascent is definitely putting TSM on the right path for it. Renegades in the last 3 rounds, I gotta say right now, I mean, we talked about the 5 and 7. This is it. This is where the 5 and 7 needs to be found. 3 rounds in a row for Renegades is required.
And just going back to our previous point that with Winsome on this Reyna, he was 5 and 17 the first time that these two teams played during the open qualifier round of 16. He's now just 1 and 9. And playing a character like Reyna, you have to get more participation. You just have to get more kills than this. We talked about the differences between the Reyna and the Breach. This time you're going to see that in action as Wardell will take use of a flashpoint that comes out. Bergie fortunate to trade, but TSM do not want to give away this weapon, so they're going to keep putting pressure over towards A main.
Oh, there's a lot of whiff shots from Sub Rosa. Still wins though. CP2 doesn't have the best equipment, only comes through with the Spectre drone. Quite as sharp on the operator. TSM have numbers advantage. Renegades don't have a lot of guns to work with. That is the one thing that will work heavily against the Renegades. We're not expecting too much out of Renegades. I know I said they need the 5 out of 7, but it would require them to win this round, and winning this round is going to be extremely tough. Renegades need a lot more. There's a couple of low members, namely Sub Rosa. They need to find it, but Sub Rosa's all the way on the other side of the map.
And the long flank starting to come through for him, so he's going to be here, but it's going to take a while. At least he'll be able to deny any rotation coming through the defensive side at spawn, of which this might indeed happen. Now you've got Hayes, who's going to linger over towards the catwalk outside of A, and he's going to get an opportunity here. Operator will find a kill onto Bergie, and now it's just down to Retro. 33 HP in a dream, but it's not a dream. That's going to feel like a dream. It'll feel more like a nightmare here. And this round will likely come to a conclusion. This comes down to, can Retro find any kills on the backside of it? No, he cannot. TSM convincing so far defensively, now at a 2.
Hilarity ensues as well, by the way. Wardell goes down, and the operator just goes about in everyone's hands there. Drone has a go of it. Hayes has a go of it. And now back in the hands of Wardell. As 8 is secured for TSM, and we're looking at another dominant first half for one of the two teams. It was Renegades who had a dominant first half on Split. TSM responded on Haven. And now on the deciding map, the tiebreaker map of Ascent, it's looking all TSM's way. 4 ultimates in play. Renegades, I'm still waiting for Winsome. I'm still waiting for the Empress. I'm still waiting to see if Renegades can at least get one more round here.
Shoulder peek coming through. It will bait out a shot from Wardell. He'll cover his retreat backwards, but Renegades are just going to dive right through this. And how about this call up the Hunter's Fury? Cutler's going to find 1 and a second. He caught more damage on the Retro, who will also fall. What a play call for Cutler just to pull out the Hunter's Fury, reading the push coming through, and all the ultimates that were spent for Renegades will come up completely empty as TSM are on 9.
It's a traffic jam over to B main. We're bumper to bumper there as you have Winsome just trap eyeing all his teammates. He popped the Empress. He's trying to say, get out of my way, but I mean, everyone just get caught in the Hunter's Fury. We lose the Empress immediately, and now we're looking at a 1-11 scoreline. It is a dreadful scenario for Renegades right now, and you know, you're running out of straws to pick here. It is getting worse and worse. 10-2 might be even the scoreline out of the first half, and at that stage, Ascent is a write-off for sure. Renegades had such a good start on Split, but as we look at the last 2 maps here, Sub Rosa even feeling confident enough to TP all the way to the back of spawn, maybe overconfidence, does get punished. Renegades will get a minor advantage now.
And Hayes is actually still thinking about challenging this angle, and Winsome will punish. So a little bit of disrespect being shown, and Renegades is taking some value away as Wardell misses a shot mid-map, no chance to reset, and Renegades will get a chance to get a spike plant here at B, and what feels like the first time in forever they've gotten a spike down. Retake will have to be by way of what looks to be a split. Winsome is going to ride this owl drone forward. A little shaky, but he's able to eventually confirm the kill. Knows the second one's nearby. The Lear comes out. Cutler's stuck in a really weird spot. Nice shock dart coming through. It will isolate 1 kill for him. There's a second, but not enough ammunition to confirm onto the 3rd. And would have needed a reload before the 4th and the 5th made themselves available. So Renegades will come out of the half at a 3-9 tally. Not great. You're going to absolutely need to win this pistol, and it just feels like I'm saying the same storyline that we had from Haven all over again here, Avril.
Instant replay provided by GoPuff here. Taking a look at how dominant TSM really were in that first half. And to be fair, crisis averted in terms of avoiding the 10-2, but it's also still out of the frying pan and into the fire for Renegades because, I mean, just even getting that last round on round number 12 felt so difficult. Really big map coming through from Wardell once again on the operator. Many kills, more than 15, I believe. Everyone's really supplying the damage in here in terms of participation. We saw what Cutler did on the Hunter's Fury, one of those previous rounds as well, completely shutting out the Empress from Renegades and multiple members as well. And 9-3 seems to be the magic number for opening halves of all the maps here, as Renegades once more on the receiving end of it being the 3 part. They have to do well on the pistol. It starts on the pistol, and I gotta say, if they don't win the pistol here, the map's probably done.
It starts with the pistol, has to continue in the second. They have to win the gun round in the third. I mean, the checklist goes on and on and on as far as how this comeback would have to start formulating itself for Renegades. And they're not even paying a lot of consideration mid-map. So Berkey is in a spot where he can throw some of his utility out to A to try to keep this defense planted. Aldrin will scout things out. Information on the 1. That's going to be Retro, who they know for sure is on site. Here comes the hit. The Aldrin that's still up, by the way, is going to get a second read of the site. This is so much intel. And now as you've got Hayes trying to throw some consideration towards spawn, it's going to be Sabrosa on the pinch to find one. Drone another. Paranoia to come through, but we still have a 3v3. Finally, Drone will clear the B site and Cutler will get the spike planted.
It's a bit of a split play coming through from TSM. They're putting aggression over towards the defender spawn. They haven't even cleared site yet. I mean, how long does Bergie live on back site there? It stops the plant for so long. I think for TSM, maybe just focus on one area of the map first. They finally do get the plant down. They also have a player advantage now extended by an extra one. It's Randy, the last one in play. 91 HP, no Sabrosa is around. Would like to get the isolation kill into Sabrosa to at least make it a 1v2. Can't even do that. Sabrosa will find that headshot, and TSM end up winning on both fronts there. They get a few shutdown kills, they get a few kills over towards defender spawn. They eventually get Bergie down. The slow plant does come through, and TSM get the pistol for a 10-3.
I mean, just take a look at the duelists. 4-12 for Retro, 4-13 for Winsome. I mean, no one's even over 10 kills yet. It's hard to find a way to start painting the picture of what a comeback would look like for Renegades. The first place that my mind wants to go is that Retro and Winsome just have to have the most incredible defensive half we've seen out of a Jet and Reyna combination for double duelists. But as Wardell will make his way up top through the middle of the map, you're going to see Sabrosa playing a little bit more aggressively over towards B, and Bergie is going to just watch the shock dart kill him, and that's, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was Bergie's own smoke as well, and if you're the one smoking that position, it becomes fairly obvious that you might walk into it, so well read by TSM there. For Retro as well, misses a couple of opening shots, at least he doesn't take any damage in response, but this is just going to be TSM receiving any sort of opening pressure. Randy will get a kill onto Wardell, but the gun has been guarded. TSM still on the 4v2 currently, and this is looking at least somewhat doable now. If Winsome can pick up a weapon, get some mid-control, then Renegades can hope for a comeback on this round.
But he decides to not go for the weapon, instead push through the middle of the map, and Drone will find even the long-range secondary headshot onto Randy. And with that, TSM will also get the plant down. So for Renegades, 11-3 the current tally. You're going to have an advantage slightly in the weaponry coming into this next round, but you've got Bulldogs, you've got a Vandal, and Wardell can probably just purchase an SMG or a Bulldog of his own if he wants to, just try to consider what they're going to do with this. Actually, it'll be Hayes who drops his Bulldog for him, and he'll opt to buy into a Vandal. So TSM are still looking just as strong as Renegades are going into this next round, with maybe the only couple of considerations of long-range damage off the Bulldog versus the Vandal.
In terms of at least having a hard purchase here, it's one of the best that TSM can hope for technically. They don't have a single SMG there. 3 Bulldogs is going to be better than the 3 SMGs, and 2 Vandals. You'll have to hope that Cutler and Hayes, to all the members on the team, can really pull through with the better equipment here. But TSM have rounds to burn through, even if they do lose. It's Renegades that have the pressure on. This is the round that needs to be won for them. It's the round 3, the very critical round 3, where they do have their first purchase, and we talk about a long road for them, a tall mountain to climb for Renegades. I mean, this is going to be the round that really gets the pace going. So we'll see if they can find any sort of early momentum here, early scouting out through in TSM's end.
And Wardell will tailwind and take advantage of Randy, who was still caught by the Owl Drone, but he does get traded, and that's the spike that's down just inside the boathouse. Cutler able to find another kill, though, on to win some. 4v3, CP2 from on top of the site is gonna have to hold strong. And he's not able to even get a first kill. Bergie nearby. He's got to try to swing and find a kill mid-map if possible, as the spike is already on towards the B site. Shrouded Step will come through. That'll actually free up Sabrosa to make a different play, but Bergie's able to at least find that kill. So now a 2v3, much more doable, as you still have Drone, who's on a single bullet of health. But watch this play from Hayes from mid-map. He's going to have some patience. There's number one. Not able to get the second. So the 1v3 now made a 1v2 for Retro.
Drone on 1 HP though. Retro will have to get that kill first. Find a way to turn this into a 1v1 situation, then it's doable. Lots of util available for Retro. A couple of smokes being thrown into the mix now. Cutler is just going to slap Retro away in. But TSM, even on this round, for the half buy, it's not going to be a major issue. They lost, by the way, Wardell fairly quickly onwards. It was technically a 4v4. They had to recover the spike over towards Boathouse, and they do all of that, get the plant, get themselves into a winning position. Match point found now, and Renegades looking into the eyes of potential defeat. They'd be going into the lower bracket if they lose this one, into a rematch with the Slimy Boogerman, but for a performance that was so good on Split, that version of Renegades has been missing for the last two maps, including this one.
There were some decent moments on Haven, to be fair, but as now Wardell is looking to punish, double flashpoints will allow him to find a free kill, and then immediately onto the site, Savage will find one kill. Needs to find more than that, though, and the Guardian won't get the job done. So now a 4v3, and Renegades are looking like they're pretty much about to get the plug pulled on them. Winsome will find a kill. That was mid-map, so we go 3v3, but the Hunter's Fury is available. The only problem here is the fact that you've got Cutler, who's actually going to be playing from on top of the site, and as he loses Drone, now Sabrosa's going to have to make a play, and he's going to go all the way back over towards the A ramp and find one kill. Paranoia coming through. Cutler trying to stay alive as long as possible. He snaps to the player to his left. 1v1, Omen v Omen. And Bergie's going to at least get this down to half. Does he stick it for the full? Sure seems like he wants to. Can Sabrosa get there in time? No, just barely not. The spike gets defused, and Renegades, at least for now, still alive.
And that was the force buy as well. Renegades, they will get the 3,000 bonus. They lose everyone, though, and that's the biggest issue here. That does mean they force again into similar territory for equipment value. Guardians coming on in, light armors, the Spectre for Retro. Nothing feels good about this purchase, but you're right. At least Renegades hold on for now. The fingers are slipping. Trying to get themselves back onto even footing. Renegades back into the same scenario they found themselves just previously, but again, it is a slow journey. If they can maybe win this round with a few more members alive, that will get the economy rolling.
It's just so hard-pressed to make this play come through. Bergie from the shadows, just scouting things out, doesn't see anything, so he'll return to his position over towards Tree. Aggressive play for Winsome. Fortunately, chooses to go to the dismiss, as the Nanoswarm may have been the end of him. Paranoia comes through, trying to spam for it. Sabrosa coming out, will find one. Just pushes himself right in front of the Lear, so that's not into consideration, as the rest of his team has already made it onto A. Plant will come through, probably without any sort of contest. And Sabrosa on 20 HP once again is playing up close, and the Lear won't get the job done once more. 3 for Sabrosa. Potential for another ace. CP2 up top, trying to make his way in. Randy will finally put down to Sabrosa, but you're going to get the Rolling Thunder to come through just to stall the retake, and this 3v2 is going to be hard-pressed considering the Hunter's Fury is still available. CP2 up top, also going to be hit by a fault line. Time is becoming a problem. TSM would be hard-pressed to lose this round, and Drone will clean up the final 2. And even though Renegades look strong on Split, like you mentioned, Avril, they find very little progress on Haven and Ascent, as TSM will make their way into the playoffs.
I think the writing was on the wall as well. All you have to do is refer back to the original meeting between these two teams in the open qualifier. Ascent back then was the most one-sided map of the 3, and once again it will be the most one-sided map of the 3 as we play all 3 maps, running it back the exact same order again. And for Renegades, they looked hot starting out, just as they did versus TSM in the open qualifier, but again, history repeats itself here, and they will fall in the following 2 maps.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Renegades, despite that early start that looked really, really promising. I thought for a second maybe we'd be seeing Renegades storm through with a massive upset win to make it out as the #1 seed from their group. but they're still not out of it. This was the upper decider, and they still have another opportunity, which they're going to be playing in just a minute. And our final best of 3 of the day here on the main stream, they're going to be playing against the Slimy Boogermen, who are looking for revenge. So the Slimy Boogermen have an opportunity to potentially make it into the playoff stage. I mean, the fact that I'm actually saying that out loud is just so ridiculous. Like, of all the teams that entered into the open qualifier that got eliminated, looking at teams like NRG or Andbox or FaZe and many others, the Slimy Boogermen prevailed. And they may have taken their licks. They lost that early series to Renegades 2-0. They ended up picking up a big win over BBG 2-0 in its own right, and they've been waiting in the wings for this rematch for an opportunity to potentially send now Renegades packing and make their way into the playoff bracket, which would be an incredibly surprising run for a team that not many people knew much about. You know, Shift, looking at a team like Slimy Boogermen, even if they lose here, I feel like there's got to be someone currently hitting up the DMs. Like, orgs have to be messaging this team to try to get some information about whether or not they're already under contract negotiations or whether they're still shopping offers.
Yeah, and even if there's not any offers in their DMs, the eyes are definitely going to be following them into this next series to see if they can get their revenge, as we take a look back just to see how exactly Renegades was not quite unable to fare against TSM here. The thing about it was we saw some really sloppy moments, I think, yesterday when we watched Renegades and Slimy Boogermen played before. And initially, we didn't have any of that from Renegades. They looked very, very good on Split. And I think if you're the Slimy Boogermen and you watch this series, even though you yourselves have been great on Split, I just don't know if you want to play Renegades here again, because they looked completely in control throughout that entire map. But then as we got to Haven and then eventually to Ascent, there was no real response for Mordell's operator. So Broza and Hayes were able to pop off in a number of individual moments. And that's when you start to see Renegades really kind of showing maybe the truer colors that we were kind of framing them up at the beginning of this tournament.
That play by Hayes was absolutely ridiculous, Avril. I mean, multiple times Hayes was the one that was really stepping up big in that first map. But then once we started moving, or not in that first map, in Haven, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then once we moved over to Ascent, it did kind of feel like this was what we expected to see to a certain extent. You know, Avril, we talked about it. This is just a map that TSM feels very comfortable on.
I think Ascent in particular, one of the big signs for me was the fact that, you know, you didn't have this early pressure coming through from Renegades anymore. Both the pistols went the way of TSM. You barely found rounds. I mean, the first 5 rounds was, 4-1 for TSM early on. Easily the most dominant map of the entire series for TSM. Haven started to look already quite strong, but we still had, you know, some faith in Renegades. We kept clinging on to the fact that they did win the split. And, you know, after that, you start looking at how Ascent goes, and it's just going from bad to worse, and even worse. And this ends up becoming a super, super dominant display by TSM. And I think you said the best, Buck, but, you know, even from Haven, I mean, this is the TSM that everyone expected to show up. Not to discredit Renegades, because I truly started to believe. I wanted to believe that after Split, it was going to be a lot more competitive. Even after losing Haven, I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe there's just a bit of a hurdle here. Maybe Renegades can still bounce back a little. Even if Renegades were going to lose Ascent, it wasn't going to be this one-sided, but it's a really tough loss. And my biggest worry now is, you know, how do Renegades walk up against Slimy Boogermen, who are pretty fired up right now. They want their revenge. They're on a bit of a warpath. Renegades cop a very heavy loss here, and they need to kind of make sure they're not mentally shaken at all, and they can come back in the next game strong.
Well, if you're watching at home, it's time to get the tissues out, because the Booger Squad is about to come to the mainstream. The Slimy Boogermen looking for an opportunity to find revenge against Renegades. But first, we have to throw things to a break, and when we come back, we'll be jumping into that best of 3 series to see who's going to be moving on to the playoffs and who is going to be eliminated from the First Strike Closed Qualifiers presented by Nerd Street Gamers. We'll be back in just a bit.